We're going. We are live
Nice.
and alive. Hello
Hello. Hello.
to,
Hello, Sema.
hello to all the people out there, and hello to you, my dear brother.
Beautiful people. Beautiful rising people. I'm
Yeah,
excited to see like so much of this awakening. You
you
know?
excited to see it?
Yeah. Like find it every day in people.
Yeah,
Some of them don't even know it,
yeah, I
but
know.
they're going through it.
Yeah, same. I've actually felt the shift inside of me the last week. Because you said rise, I can't wait to see it rise in people. And I have made this challenge, and I will start from next week on, where I will find reason to rise. Instead of, I could write a lot of things on my Facebook about what is happening, but I also want to talk about or share what makes me rise every day, because I know all these things. So the question is not knowing these things. The question is, how do I get up every single morning knowing that these things is happening, or I'm living in this kind of world, or yeah, that I'm living with this kind of pain? What makes me feel alive? What makes me wake up? What makes me smile? What makes me do these things? What is my reason to rise?
There's more to that. I want to
Yeah.
hear that's that's what everybody should be doing. That's what everybody should be doing, I think. And I never want to suggest anything, but let me ask you, what is it that, because as you're talking, I'm thinking about like, what do I wake up for? You know, what is it
Hmm.
for you?
What I do?
Yeah, like what when you wake up, like what is it that energizes you to think?
Now I have my van. So what energizes me is that I wake up and I just look into the ocean and I can just go into the ocean. That is for me so precious. And I just got my new plants in my van and they haven't grown yet. But today, and I just went thrilled over it. Today I saw it spring and I was like, oh my God, I created that with love, and I'm like giving it water every day and I'm putting it in light. And that's just these small reason I have to rise. And for some people it maybe seems ridiculous, but there is just something beautiful about that, and I just discovered that feeling. And yeah, something like that can make me rise, because I'm like so thrilled to see if it's grown even more next morning and next morning. So right now it's my plant.
You know, that's as you talk about the that plants and nature. I'll share something with you, but first, that's awesome. Like just those little things, and yeah, some people are gonna say like, "You hippie," like that's
Yeah,
all your
I know.
you and your
Yeah.
van and your plants. But you know what happened? I've been here in this house like 7 years, right? And I went to my backyard, and I have fig trees in my backyard, but I never care for them because they've been there since I bought the house. And I'm not much of a nature guy when it comes to like plants and stuff. But I saw this figs coming out, and I'm like, I never cared to look for this figs before. And I was out there just looking at the figs and contemplating them, and I'm like, how do they come out? So I looked up like when they are ripe and stuff. For the first time in 7 years, I waited for them to be ripe. I harvested a couple of them. My God, they're delicious. I felt some sort of guilt that I was like here for so long and that plant was given figs. I mean, granted, it's being fed to the animals and stuff, but ah,
But it's amazing feeling.
yeah. What are you
It is
growing?
beautiful to see.
What are you growing?
Oh, I'm not smoking weed and I'm not a hippie. Like, I'm just adapting to the times, just to say it. Like, I have never been drawn to this hippie life of peace, love, and harmony and all these things. I love peace and love and harmony, but I'm not that typical plant van type. And I'm not smoking weed, but I just think that the cannabis plant is so beautiful. And I know that it's a challenge to grow. So me and yeah, let's just say my grandma. We planted a seed, and we wanted to see, or I wanted to see it grow because I think it's a beautiful plant. And I finally got it. I planted like 10 of them, and one of them came up. So
Oh,
it's a little
right.
victory for me to see that plant just come to life. I will not use it to anything. I will just see it grow beautifully. Maybe somebody else will use it. I don't know.
Well,
I'm not a
are you
smoker.
are you gonna let it grow and just be?
I think so. Maybe I grow more. I don't
Because
know.
for it to be, useful to smoke it, you have to let it flower.
Yeah.
Then you have to cut it, like
Yeah.
trim it. But if it goes beyond that, it becomes unuseful for smoking or for, THC extraction, because then it's going to get the seeds and it's going to go through its process. I mean, I'm not full into it, but that's what I know. We had a plant a while ago, and that was the process. Like, you had to be very specific if you wanted to grow it for smoking, or, I mean, not smoking.
Definitely. And it needs to be a
Hard.
she.
Yeah,
It
ours
needs to
was a
be a
she.
female.
Ours
Yeah.
was a she. Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. She had a name in
Yeah,
her.
that's really beautiful.
Her name
I
was
love that.
Porola.
Oh, really? You gave her a name?
Yeah, you got to give names to plants.
Yeah, I
They
know,
love
but
that.
I haven't seen its full form yet, so I don't know what its name is. It's a baby right now. So
Okay.
I need to see how it will unfold and if it will be androgen or a man or a woman. I don't know yet what energy that will come there.
Well, whatever it is. I mean, it doesn't matter. I had this
Yeah.
guy, this student in the business accelerator, that he was talking about that. He's like um what's it called? He's like an agronomist. So he's all around plants. He's in Italy. And he was talking about that. Like, he names his plants because there is a connection between the consciousness of the plant and you. And it's
There
not
is.
about the name. Like, they don't care about the name, obviously, but it's just like you caring enough to give him a name. They feel that.
Yeah, for sure. There's so much energy there.
Yeah.
It's a proof of life. Also, just I've been so fascinated over that my voice and the music I put on in my van, it's affecting my plants. So I'm very conscious about what music, because it's such a little space and I have a lot of plants. So I'm super conscious of what music I put on. I cannot hear like Eminem or something that is saying these bad words. I need to put some really good music on that there is so there's harmony in the vibes in the van, because or else my tomatoes will just go down if I don't listen to them and do what they want. So it's all about the plants right now in my world. I've never thought that that would happen, but this time, I don't know, this time is just doing something magical to us.
Yeah.
Something it makes things simple, more simple.
Yeah. I feel it too. Like, just in general. Talking to people also, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always, maybe it's just me because I try to avoid people who are, unless they're looking for some sort of conversation with me and whatnot. But people who are into the matrix and feeding from the narrative, I kind of just like. I mean, it's just, it repels.
Yeah.
But other people who are, and they don't have to be into anything. They're just joyful people that are living life, happy and whatnot.
Yeah.
They're feeling this too. They're just like,
Yeah.
everything is, it's cool, and it's just changing for the better for them, and that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. It is changing. Everything is changing right now. There is a soft energy going on,
Yeah,
a very feminine energy.
I can feel it.
Yeah.
I can feel it. I feel more in the moment. Did we talk about that?
No, but
I
same
feel a lot more in the
here.
moment. Without getting too deep into it, just it seems like the future doesn't matter anymore as we used to plan it. In the past, it's like, yeah, who cares anymore? You know, you are the one who always cares, you know, not you, but, you
Yeah.
know, oneself is the
Yeah.
one that cares. So what leaves you? It's like the present. It's this moment. It's not like I'm not thinking about the future or things that I have to do and whatnot, but just I care much less about the past, and I just wait for tomorrow, you know, to see what brings, you know. And if
Yeah.
I have to prepare a week in advance for something, I do that kind of stuff. But I don't know if that makes sense, you know. Like I'm much more present.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. I think that both. I was thinking here the other day because I don't really feel that the world is, you know, before all this virus and all these things happened, I felt the world going around, you know, things happened, people going into job, education, all these things. I don't feel these things more. I feel that there is a pause right now, a collective pause. Maybe it's not, but there is kind of, for me, I don't really feel that energy anymore of this drive and power and career and money and I gotta go here, because you really can't go so many places. You only can go in or you can stay in the now. And I think it's both scary, but it's also very, very beautiful. I'm very much in peace in that energy. And I believe it is the feminine energy that is coming into play. It's like, finally. I shared that with you today about this femininity that have just shown up in me and in my heart. Like I feel my heart much more. I wake up and have reasons why I wake up, like why. It's all these very feminine things. I want to be vulnerable, I want to share my life, I want to hug, I want to do all these very feminine energy things. And I haven't felt that energy for, I don't know, I haven't felt that energy before, actually, not collectively when I walk down the street or anything. And I think it's beautiful. Do you feel that?
In many ways, yeah. And first, it's like you're saying all this, and I'm thinking about my reaction also with the like people, and I don't know how to put it, but it's I used to be a lot more dry when it came to listening to people, and not even listening to the conversations that we have, but just listening to them talk. And now, no matter who it is, I it's like I'm immediately looking at the beauty of, you know, the person, you know, not the physical part, even though that's part of it too, because
Of course.
I I tend to appreciate more the physical part, whereas before it used to be like whatever, it's just somebody, and I appreciate the differences and everything. But mostly is the way they express themselves, and
Mm.
it's like you read their history when they're talking. In a way, you know, you don't have to be right. You just use your imagination and read them, and see the beauty in why they're talking that way. You can probably do this with me right now, you know, like why does he talk
Yeah.
like this, you know? And there's a beauty in there because there's a history, and where there's a
Yeah.
history, there's a story, you know. um, so that's one thing. And the other is that I think it's because we're moving from these patriarchal energies, like you're saying, that, you know, used to
Yeah.
dominate, and now we're moving into the feminine side of it. So the way I see it and the way I understand it is that the patriarchal ones control and dominance because it's the father figure. You
Yes.
know, you do as you're told, and that's why we have all this power authorities, and we have relinquished all our power and, you know, decision making to them. But now we're moving into nobody controls me because I'm wild, you know, typical woman, you know, type of behavior that is intuitive and not analytical. Because analytical wants to have everything square, you know. Women want to have things, you know, as they come, and they know they don't need to calculate a formula. They just
Yeah.
know inherently. So that I can feel it translating into my life into the same thing. Like I'm more present. I'm not thinking too
Yeah.
much, you know?
Yeah.
That's how
It's
I feel it, at
beautiful.
least.
Yeah. It is beautiful. But it has been a man, if we want it or not, it has been a man's world that we have been living in, or not a man like a physical man, but the masculine energy world we have been living in. And it has been a very unhealthy masculine that we have been living in, of control and abuse and power. And we can even see on the way our structures is the phallus is everywhere, this obelix is everywhere, like the lingam is everywhere. It's like it's an erected man everywhere here in this world that has just like been fighting. And now the feminine, I don't think that you can hold down the feminine energy. So she's just coming from the ground, and she will create chaos because that's how she works. And she does that right now. She is in destruction in service of creation, I believe. And I think that's what we see. And I think it's so important that in this period of time, and especially for men, because I really feel for men right now, and also for women, because we don't really know how to be in these archetypes roles. So women is like, I don't need a man, I can do it all myself. And men go into this pussy role. It's like, oh, okay. So we need to be very focused here. Like the woman shouldn't take over. It's like a balance. It's like this universal play of both polarities coming together. So the man needs to hold presence and space, and the woman can unfold and create as much as she wants, but she's not the leader and he's not the leader. They're leading together. And I think it's very important to remember in this time. I feel for the
Yeah.
man in this time, actually.
Yeah. I think that's men are the ones that are going to suffer the most trying
Yeah,
to accept these energies and this new pattern
yeah,
of thinking and living. So they need the most healing. Men
yeah,
need the most healing because for too long, and that's the thing. I mean, it's not like the whole world was corrupted.
no,
Patriarchal systems have worked for a long time in tribal settings and aborigines and so on, but it's the corruption, obviously, like you're saying. It's funny when you were talking about the phallic shape structures and whatnot. It reminded me of George Carlin always saying that everything is shaped as a penis, like even the
yeah,
missiles
this,
that they use for war.
yeah,
And I thought it was a joke, but it's true. Like it really is like a dick waving war type of
it
thing.
is. Yeah,
But my point was that as we grow out of this corrupted system, then we can seek that balance because it's always been there. It's just
yeah,
that there was a time where we needed more. Oh my God, I'm thinking about this and I'm seeing 333 where I am. Let me see what you think about this.
okay,
I believe
bring
the
it.
patriarchal or the masculine energy was needed in the time of darkness that we were geometrically in the solar system as we were going through this cycle, right? The 25,000 year cycle. Half of it, which we just finished, was male dominant. So it was kind of needed because of the darkness and ignorance and our lack of understanding. I'm not sure if the female energy would have been appropriate for it, but now as we move into the part of the cycle of enlightenment and wisdom and love and understanding, then it's like it's not like we need it and we choose. It's just that like that's how we thrive. It's
Yeah,
like part of the energy flowing. What do you think about that?
I think you're right. I'm not so much into these 25,000 of cycles, but I believe that there is a reason for everything. So I believe that no matter what, this kind of imperialistic consciousness has been necessary at some point in order to survive. I don't know. And then again, maybe not. I mean, yes, if we go into the metaphysically about the world and the poles and how things needs to to align with each other by showing each other's sides, yes, for sure, it has been necessary. But I don't know. I don't know if I have a clear question or a clear download on that mess or on that question. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I mean, it's don't confuse the part, because that's the thing. When we think masculine patriarchal, societies, we immediately think about the system that we're currently living. And remember, this was, in a way, it had its purpose to create all this catalyst and experiences that we're having, but it's like a cancer that started spreading as after domination and conquest started. The idea that we're supposed to conquer
Yeah.
territories and lands and whatnot. That's a different story. That I don't think that has anything to do. That's like the corrupted. It's like whoever plays video games, like Mario and Wario. Wario is the distorted version of Mario.
Okay.
So, but we're talking about Mario here. The regular tribal, masculine, patriarchal system that we probably see in the tribes here in America before the invasion. I think that worked. I think that was fine. That was proper, and it was good for the time. And now as we move into the female cycle, it's no longer needed. So now we have a different, I guess, way of thinking and perceiving life.
Yes.
So we have to get used to it, no matter what.
Yes. And I believe also for our soul, it's not my soul. I will not say it's my property, but for the soul, it's good to be in these kind of cycles to experience the different kind of energies from the different kind of ruler that is in this kind of cycle. And both you and me came into a cycle where the ruling master was the masculine energy, which our soul guaranteed chose because we needed some of that energy inside of us to reunite us. So I mean, there's nothing bad about it. I think it's just how it needs to be. And now consciousness is rising and the energy in the universe is rising too, and everything will rise.
Yeah.
So I think it's divine to be alive right now. It's really I'm thrilled right now. I know that in 1 week I will probably be depressed again, but right now I'm super thrilled to be a part of this cycle and this. It is an ending of a cycle, right?
Absolutely, in so many ways, for me.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I also think I love to talk about the macro, cosm and everything, but I think we're living mini cycles right now too, personally. Each and every one of us. It's like going through different repeated cycles of experience,
Yeah.
because the same way that it's happened in the macro scale, it's happened in the microcosm. So
Always.
we're closing a lot of these cycles, and there's a reason for that. We all came here for the same reason, and we kind of forget that as we. It's like we go back and forth. We go back to our physical life, and
Yes.
I don't have money. I don't have a career. I don't know where I'm going to live. The economy, blah blah blah. And then we go to the other side where we're like, all right, we are the universe. We are consciousness. And all this thing. So those are the cycles I think we're living. It's just going back and saying that's the depressing part, and then you go back to this. So that is balancing out to know that our perception of this physical world is tainted, and we kind of like balance it out here. And now we're starting to see, as we when we recover from whatever depression, psychedelics, any sort of trauma, we kind of go back and we see the physical reality anew again, like the fig tree that I was talking about. You think I would have cared about that fig tree years ago? No, I would have walked by and be like, all right, just another tree. But now it's like you are appreciating more this physical reality, this illusion. The Maya is it's beautiful. So that's how I see that. Those are the cycles. We're cleansing our perception of this muddy, tainted world, and we do it through the true perception of the soul, and then we move into our illusion again, just to enjoy it again from a different perspective.
But I have a question here. What regards, not quite that, but almost that. I'm working a lot with ego these days, not my ego, but I'm exploring my ego also, but just the ego in general, just to figure out what is ego, because ego has so many blind sides. And I don't know if it is possible in this period of time of letting go of the ego, because I was thinking, let's say that you raise your consciousness, your ego will follow, because then you will want to approve again. So your ego will follow again. Then you go through the roof, let's say, and you get in contact with your higher self, but your ego will immediately start to identify with that higher self again. So that means that here in this kind of cycle, or this life we're in, everybody talks about the higher self right now. And I still believe that this improvement and wanting to go to the higher self is still a trap in the ego. So, I mean, do you think it's possible in this period of time to get completely rid of the ego, because we will identify? I mean, people saying I have contact with my higher self, it's still ego because you identify.
Yeah. Well, it depends on how you define ego. I don't want to get rid of my ego, because ego, it's like saying the body is an illusion, because it is, right? So I want to get rid of my skin because my skin is an illusion. I mean, it's part of what we need for this vessel to work. Same with the ego. Ego is a reflection of our existence here in consciousness. Now, the distinction, I think, in the poetic side of ego, the definition is that you don't want the ego to take over your decisions and your life. That's the thing. That's the key to me. That's what's been working. Anybody can think differently about ego. That's totally cool. But I feel like it's just not allowing it to make the decisions for you, because the ego only wants to preserve itself. And remember, ego comes from the idea that we're separated from the universe.
Yes.
Which is, again, it's the skin of the body. It's a needed part of this experience. We need to have ego. But I would say just going back to where you really come from and make those decisions from there, as opposed to from the ego, because the ego will keep separating everything. And we shouldn't allow the ego to take over the show of our lives. So I don't think there's even a need to get rid of the ego. I think the ego is what makes you who you are, and I love it. Ego is what makes everybody who they are, and our job is to love it, starting with ourselves. So
yeah,
I think that maybe the selfish part of the ego is what we need to be careful of, because the selfish is what makes the decision. I would say
the distorted part, right?
That's how I feel it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because the ego will always interfere. I mean, me wanting to get in contact with my higher self, it's my ego, because I want to improve, because I'm not satisfying with my situation right here, right now. So me wanting to go in another step and another step, it is my ego that is telling me that, kind of. And there is also desire in it, of course. And there is also, but if it should be totally ego-free, I would just sit here in my cave, doing absolutely nothing. So, I mean, ego can also be a drive sometimes if it's coming from a conscious level of observing it.
Well, you just said the perfect point, which is, what is ego death? Ego death to me is that monk that can dissolve himself into nothingness,
Yes.
physically even.
Yes.
That's amazing. That just proves, it's almost like a scientific proof of ego
Yes.
dissolving, right?
For sure.
Same thing with psychedelics. Psychedelics destroy your ego.
Completely. Yeah.
Perceptual, you know it. And physically, people, when they see you, they know you have no ego. There's nothing to it. But the question is, do you want to live your life like a monk or like somebody who is in a heroic trip in psychedelics? No, because that's no ego. And, you know, one thing that I noticed and in my life is that when I started exploring this whole thing about, you know, ego and personality and the metaphysical world and blah, 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 is that we are not monks. We were raised in a culture. We knew this. We picked this time. We picked our parents. We picked our timeline. We knew
Yes.
that we were here for the thick of it.
Yes.
And when you see it that way, you realize that you actually you designed this character this way. So you came here to be a survivor of this society because you wanted to help this society. You cannot help this society if you don't know them and they can't relate to you. Let's be honest. I can't relate to a monk. I just can't. I admire them, but I can't, you know?
Maybe.
No.
I haven't tried. I will take that as a challenge, I think.
Yeah.
I have
I
thought
don't think
about
we
monk
can.
life, actually. I will be honest. I've thought about the monk life also because there is something I saw the two Karate Kid movie here the other day. I think they're amazing. And there's something called this chi inside of yourself, which means that you're so much in contact with self, the deeper self of yourself, that you can transmit energy through your body. You can hang yourself, sit in lotus while you're hanging yourself. You can put warmth into your hand and just like kill another person and all these things. That's monk life, and that's badass monk life. And I'm really intrigued by that. So if I should choose, I would actually I would love to try to experience it.
That would be
But I
amazing.
mean, you say no to a lot of other things like stimuli, like sex, like all these very animalistic things. But you experience a Kundalini awakening through some hardcore training.
Hmm. I think in the end, you know what? When we think about this, now that you mentioned like, you know, the Kundalini and the sexual, you know, the animalistic lifestyle, I think we all have the same energy. You know,
Yeah.
the one controlled by society and the enlightened one. They're both flowing the same energy. It's just that one may be completely distorted and the other one is just flowing perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
So energy is flowing regardless of how you direct it. So it's
Doesn't
a
matter.
matter of like how you control your energy and how you manage it and where you invest it. So, you know, I think everybody is doing it in their own way. And one last thing about the ego, connecting it to this, is that I think, and this is something that we need to have, because the problem, you know, when we were talking about success
Yes.
in life, and especially in this lifestyle, we also extrapolate the idea that we are not enough right now. So we need to
Yeah.
do something in order to be enough, because we don't have that. So you're living in the future. And to me, that is completely wrong. Because even though I know that I need improvement, I need to perceive myself as perfect and enjoy myself. Otherwise, I'm investing energy in something that is not serving me at all. It's just telling me, well, you know, you still think about, you know, sexual acts that are wrong, you know, or well, you still fantasize about having, material stuff, or you're still thinking about, strangling your neighbor for whatever reason, or you still want to, beat up women, or whatever it is that you may think, and that's cool. You need to accept yourself for who you are. And from
But that's
there,
still
just have,
ego.
sure. But I'm saying, like, thinking that your ego is bad, it's automatically saying that you are wrong, or there's something wrong with you, and there's
Of
nothing wrong
course,
with you. And that's what I'm
nothing.
trying to get at. By you accepting that is where you can start healing yourself,
For sure.
even though it sounds like, contradictory, but
Yeah.
that's how I feel it.
Yeah, same. I've just heard a lot of people say like that, and because they're saying, yeah, but I'm just a human, I'm just a human. I want I also want to have fun. I also want to have sex. I also want to be this animal sometimes. And it's cool, but like the important thing in that sentences and these desires is to be very aware that that is the ego, and that is the ego that want these things. That is not self. That's the more, yeah, ego part of us.
Yeah. I think that that's a segue to, no matter what you want, you should do it. But the key question for you, and you need to be honest, is it fulfilling what you're doing?
Exactly.
So say,
I love that word.
I want to have sex. I want to have sex. That's my main drive. I want to find women. I just want to have sex. Because I was repressed all my life. Stupid society told me I was ugly or I was insufficient and whatnot. So I need to have sex. That's cool.
Yeah.
I wish you the best, because you need to answer the question for yourself. I can't tell you, no, stop looking for sex. There's nothing wrong with you. I think you should, because only you are going to answer the question at the end and say, like, well, I've had a lot of sex with, like 10 different women, and a couple of guys, and I still don't feel, the fulfilled. And that's where you look back and say, like, okay, I need to rethink, let's plan again. Or you keep going in the cycle. But as long as you keep asking if it's fulfilling, then you should see some growth. It's inevitable.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm still in the sex mode. Okay, so don't take away my sex.
I will not.
It's a beautiful energy. I wish I could understand it more, though, because I gotta be honest. Like, I grew up in a Western culture, and it's this reductionist idea that is like an animalistic act. But I actually want to explore more like the metaphysical part of it. Like that sexual energy transfer.
Yes, it's beautiful.
What have you like discovered in this? Because I know you've had at least a couple of tantric like classes and whatnot. Like, how does this actually work in the experience that you have, with learning this?
The metaphysical part?
Yeah, like the feeling, of using this energy. Because the physical part is just like, the rush, the orgasm, and the the draining part. And then you're like,
it is the draining part for sure. Yeah, we're eating each other. We're not like fulfilling each other. We think we're just masturbating. And most people see sex but it's just masturbation inside of each other. But the metaphysical part, I can share something because I had it today. I was at a tantra massage today, just sharing. And I do that sometimes to regulate my body, to stimulate my sexual energy, but also maintain it and don't project it into the person that is giving me the massage. So I had a very beautiful woman massaging me today. And the beautiful thing about this ritual when you come in is that it's almost like they pray, or not pray, but they treat you like you're a temple, and they're like, now I'm in service for you. I call in all your body part. It's a very conscious act, and that makes my nervous system on a metaphysical level relax.
Mm.
So I'm not so attached to this body, and I more feel the sexual energy rise inside of me, and I hold them, and I know that this is not a projection. I don't need to go into an act. I don't need to do anything. I can just enjoy the flow of sexual energy going into me while she's like touching me, and she's doing all these beautiful things to my body. And yeah, it's just it's a training of holding the sexual energy in you. Don't project it. Don't think that I'm getting, how you say that, I hate the word turned on. I'm not getting turned on because of her. I'm getting turned on because of my energy, because of my chi. And it has nothing to do with the external world, but everything to do with my internal world. So that's super beautiful.
Well,
And it's
so
like a battery loading, and it's just where every single part of you is being worshipped, and that is, I don't know, something special.
so let me use an analogy here, and you can tell me if this is true or not in terms of the energy itself, because being turned on is something that actually, even the words say it, you're being turned on.
Yeah.
But what does that mean? When you taste food, right? It's a feeling. There's an energy going through it, right? There's a vibration in the food that causes your taste buds to react, and you get this rush of pleasurable energy in your brain and whatnot. We can do that with the eyes, with the ears, and every sensation, right? When it comes to like the sexual energy, it's like you said, it's all over the body. So it's not about the turning on for ejaculation or orgasm. It's the turning
No.
on to move the energy through the body.
Yes.
And that's something that I personally lack feeling and understanding to move that energy, because that's where the healing part is.
Yes.
And what I see, does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
And so that to me that's fascinating, and people who can do that are they're gifted to me. I mean, it's like magic, because you're stimulating yourself just like you're stimulating yourself with watching something that you like, a movie or whatever, because that's all it is,
Yeah.
right? Stimulating your visual cortex, or you're listening to music, or blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But the sexual energy is just like physical, animalistic, because it's internal and it moves through your body.
Yes. And you
That's
don't depend on anybody. I mean, a lot of people would probably go into a tantra massage, let's say like that, look for a beautiful one who will touch you, look for a man if you're a woman, or, there's all these demands. But you have to know, when you go into a session like this, the other person doesn't matter. The look doesn't matter. If it's a man or a woman, doesn't matter. All these things doesn't matter. What matters is you turn yourself on, and how you set your own boundaries, how you feel your nervous system, how you activate your nervous system, and how you consciously observe your body while somebody is touching it. And if you can go into the surrender mode, if you can, it's a play. I mean, and it takes exercise. I have been the same with like you in the beginning. I will not say I'm there yet, but this freeze mode or numb mode where I couldn't feel my body. So it's a journey of starting, because a lot of us is walking around and is numb. We can't really feel anything, and we depend on other people to activate that kind of turning on inside of us. So we have forgotten how to turn ourselves on, and how to, I don't know, turn our own switch button on, and don't be dependent on other people, because we depend on another person in order to have sex, in order to have the lust towards sex. And I mean, I should just, my mentors say that sometimes, like she can be turned on by a wall. I mean, and I still try to figure out
Wow.
how to do that, but there is some metaphysical in it where it doesn't matter about what is you are looking at. It matters of your process and how you turn yourself on.
Mm. And not depend. I think that's the biggest thing. Not depend on something else.
No, because that's where you get broken. Like if you depend on someone to turn you on, or someone to love you, or someone to be with you, or someone to make you feel something, then you will end up empty.
What about
And
using your
emptiness is,
imagination?
yeah.
What about using your imagination?
No, I will not say imagination is good. Fantasizing is not good. Porn is not good. All these things is not good. That's not how you do it. You go into your body, not your mind.
So it's because it's an external thing, yeah. You want it to be internal.
Yeah, because I can sit here and I can think about someone I think is super sexy and I can get turned on, but I'm still dependent on that person.
Right. Man,
But it's a practice. I will say it's a practice of starting to just, that's like, it's, I think we talked about this before. It's a practice of starting to, I know, touch yourself, activate yourself. If I touch myself here, what is then
activate.
happening here? And, you know, if I touch my feet, do I feel it in my cheek? Like these things, like how can I connect it all? So it's like Tantra is also this web of life. How do you connect your web? And right now there's holes in our web and we need to sew it all together again. So we can feel the whole connection in this vibration of this electrical web that we actually are, because our nervous system is one big web connected to everything else in this world.
Yeah, that makes sense. So
Yeah.
I wonder, what does this have to do? I mean, I know it has to do with something. What does this have to do with the physical attachments? Not attachment's not the right word. The physical connection, like you said, with the whole universe and the energy. Because am I right in saying that this is like the sexual energy is the strongest energy that exists in the body, right? Physically. So this must be the strongest connection we have with the rest of the illusory matter that we have in the universe, which is everything. Which is you, it's me, it's the rocks, it's the ceiling of the house, it's the birds flying. So this activation of energy has to do with the connection with the universe.
Yes.
That's where it derives its mystical part.
Yes.
So I can definitely see the distortion that it's caused by not, having a good channel of your own energy and dependent on the external one.
Yes.
It's fascinating.
It is. It is truly. And if you go back to esoteric knowledge or wisdom, all they talked about back then, which has been deleted or precipitated as something else, all they talked about was sexual energy. They talked about Hergina. They talked about lingam. It was all about the Trinity, the act, the sexual energy, the Kundalini. Every single symbol from back then is about these two energies and what happens between these energies and what eventually create life and also created the universe, because this was also two attractions towards each other and this sexual energy exploded out of it. I mean, and it's not because I say that we need to find a perfect match, but it's this energy that we need to find inside ourselves again that we have lost.
Well, just to reinforce your point, and I may be wrong here or off, but we don't need a match for that because we already have both energies. So
Yes.
It's like
Exactly.
balancing them out. So we use them.
Yes. The most interesting thing I've seen, I've just read about this, is that matrix actually in Latin means womb.
That's true. That's what we, in Spanish, matriz.
Yes.
That's the word for like the womb, la
Yeah.
matriz.
Yeah. So we are right now stuck in the womb of the woman, and we're ready to get rebirth out of the matrix. So I think it's beautiful that all these references and all these symbols always end up in either the man or a woman or the divinity between those two and this sexual force that is just driving us all.
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
it.
I believe that's what we need to work with. But
Madre
yeah, now we're
Gaia.
mixing a lot actually, because it is also about finding it in ourselves. Activation on. Turn yourself on.
Well, um, Ra says that we're in the process of birthing another Earth. And you know what I like? That he says that, or they say, not he, they say that the birthing process, which is curious because we regard ourselves as children of Gaia. They say that we are, in a strict sense, the parents of this earth, meaning that we are the ones aiding in the birthing of the new earth, which kind of
Wow.
makes sense when you think about that it is because of us, the consciousness of the planet, moving into fourth density. Because think about it this way: why would the planet move into fourth density if it didn't have anybody to experience it?
True.
You know what I mean? So we are
Yeah.
birthing it, and this is, we are all the womb for
Yeah.
the planet. The planet is, you know, uh, has its spirits and everything. I mean, it's not a separate thing. That's another thing. Like, it's us. We're doing the same things. Almost like a um, what's it called? The organisms that have their own sexual reproductive system in itself. Like that's what we are. So we're birthing Earth. I like that. I like the connection with the womb there. We are
Yeah,
the
I like
womb.
that too. I love it.
So we need to turn, into the feminine energy for this. I
Yeah,
I
for
would like to
sure.
know like how the majority of and I think this is where men are very wounded, accepting this, and I can speak for one who was, I mean, I wasn't very macho in my life. In fact, I despised that kind of, mentality towards women and whatnot. But even I had a sense of like, well, that's not very manly, to think that way, feminine and so on. Because I didn't know that we have this feminine part, but that has to be rough for a lot of men, to talk about this feminine side that we all need to accept.
I think so. I
Gotta be
think
rough.
it is a very hard time for men right now.
Yeah. Well,
I think
we're here to help.
also I think also because there has been this myth of not feeling masculine enough or strong enough, or if you cry, men don't cry, all these things. And I really believe that it's about time we acknowledge that men also cry, and maybe like they become men when they actually start to cry and all these things. So I have a lot of love and, how you say, empathy, not empathy, that's a bad word, but I have a
Passion.
lot of love and caring for men right now, because the woman is rising hard and strong, and she have been doing that for years now, some years, but right now it's time. And I would just say hold the present. That's all that is needed for the man, because that's what he does best. He's like the holder, the strong present that the feminine needs when she go into chaos. That's the story about Shakti and Shiva too. That's a beautiful story.
Hmm. I think, men in general, the ones that are very tough, in getting this type of love, um, are are in need of that love. Like, I've seen that when you give that love, to men, and I mean love, not like buddy love, but the feminine love, like telling them,
Yeah.
"I love you," and it, you can see that they need that.
Mhm.
They actually want to be, held and whatnot, because most of them lack their female motherly figure, you know, and that's something that they still want.
Yeah.
I include myself there. There's a lot of this feminine aspect that I didn't have too much, and now that I receive it, especially from men, because women, we associate the attraction, or not even the attraction, but the easiness of a woman telling you, or caring about you. But when a
Hmm.
man cares about another man without being, the buddy type, it's just like genuinely, friend
The
love,
bro.
bro love.
Yeah.
Seriously, like that's, I don't know. I enjoy it a lot more, and I feel like really comfortable, telling,
Yeah.
especially my friends who have been going through so much stuff. And to me, it was tough at the beginning, but once you break that shell and you just, start telling each other, loving things and appreciating, and just sending them messages and telling them, I'm grateful for you and this and that, which at least we Spanish, have a very tough way to treat each other, men.
Yes.
It opens the door for such a beautiful understanding and relationship of each other as men. And I think
Yes.
that's what needs to break through for us to move on,
Yeah. For
harmoniously.
sure. For sure. And there is nothing more beautiful, let me just say it from a woman's perspective, than seeing two brothers being vulnerable with each other and showing each other love. Like two men showing each other love, that's absolutely beautiful because that's a rare side. So every time I see it, I just adore it because I think it is so needed, that initiative to do that and spread that kind of brotherly love or sisterly love, whatever.
Yeah.
That's
I
beautiful.
I love that. I wish we
Yeah,
could
me
break
too.
more of that. And I can't wait to see this, just unfold a lot more. Um, all right, I think we're coming up in time. I'm going to wrap it up with the same message, because I think, you know what, I'm gonna get a little personal here and
Hmm.
talk about this, because my spiritual awakening had to do a lot with digesting, this feminine side and the moving of everything. Even I'll tell you a quick anecdote. The person who gave me this, it's a flower of life, right? And there
Right.
was a male and a female flower of life. The way he described it,
There
the
is.
female, the male ends up with the points connected, the flower of life, right at the top, so it makes like a little phallic shape, I guess, and the female has the um uh the flat part. So he gave me this and he said, no, you should definitely use, the feminine. And I was like, but I'm a man, I'm supposed to wear manly stuff. you know uh but since then I started to think about it, and I said, like, why do I have this aversion, for the female aspect of me? And it was just like knowing that you're balanced between the two. And ever since that, I'm by no means like even halfway there, but the experience that I've gotten, it's just amazing, being able to let that feminine energy flow, which, it's in our body, in our mind already. So I don't know. I'm still in the discovery process and going through this. But so far, I think the biggest thing was like the opening of my heart or the beginning.
Beautiful.
Again, it's not like I have the most open heart in the world, but just just starting to feel it and crying, like you said. There was no crying in me. I cried this morning, like it's such a relief. So I
Yeah,
don't
it
know.
is.
Just wanted to share that and invite, all my male counterparts to explore it if they haven't already. Just see what comes up. Everybody's individual. So that's my my ending statement.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful that you cried. Both you and I have talked a lot about this crying thing. Like sometimes I wish I could cry more, but I'm also practicing because even though I'm a woman, I have always been very masculine, and I've been raised in the masculine energy. I'm living in the masculine energy in this world. So I have also been very masculine as a woman. So I also need the feminine energy, and I need to get to know it. And I guess that's both for the woman and the man. It doesn't matter which body we are in, it's all about the energies. So I also need to embrace the feminine energy even more and open up my heart even more and share myself even more. So this awakening can come with a shift. So I think it's not about the body we're in, it's about the energy that we're carrying around, and it's about the reuniting of those two. And of course, the fall of ego. Fall of ego. I will not say it can fall completely, but it's the observation of your own consciousness rising above the ego so it doesn't control you. And that's very masculine too. I mean, the masculine energy can be very much in the ego. So it is the releasing of these distorted parts of the feminine and the masculine and go into the archetypes. So I will really recommend people out there who see this now to also go into the archetypes of the masculine, who represent this masculine energy in our history, our story. I would not say history because that's not our story. Who represent those and see what this kind of energy is. I read a lot about, who is it? Cleopatra, all these archetypes of Lilith, Mary Magdalena, Jesus, all these people, Ra, I think, no, Osiris, all these gods that we have seen, they're archetypes of these different energies of the masculine and feminine. And I would really recommend people to read into that, because that gives you a greater perspective of what it is that you are going towards and what you should avoid with regard to the distorted part. Just a little education point so people can read about it. I've used the archetypes a lot. Both the dark feminine, the light feminine, and the dark masculine and the light masculine. They're all represented in God pictures out there and symbolic.
Powerful and
That's
beautiful.
my ending. And I will embrace life the next week or two and find more reason to rise. I can't wait to see my plant rise more.
I can't wait to see my future self.
Yes. The hippie life. Cool.
The plant life. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Next Friday.
Have a beautiful